Good morning. Welcome to God Talk. I am Jen Lee, and I'm here with my friend Marybeth Tilkey, who's going to share her testimony today about how God healed her from childhood trauma and continues to heal her actually to this day.
Yes.
So why don't you just share your story with us, Marybeth?
Okay. Well, the Bible talks about how the enemy has come to steal, kill, and destroy, and that has definitely been a theme in my life. When I was 3, I lost my biological father to suicide, and I was actually in the room when he committed suicide, and that's my first memory as a child. So I continued to be physically and verbally abused by my stepdad later on, a few years later, and we actually were taken out of our home because of the abuse when I was in 5th grade. And so we went to live with my grandparents and physically, emotionally, verbally abused there. And I was in a dark place. I wanted to commit suicide myself when I was in 6th grade. And then when I met Jesus in 7th grade, everything changed. I absolutely fell in love with him. I still have the prayer journals from that time, and I found purpose and I found new life, and it was amazing. And then when I was 14, my mom died. And we weren't living with her at the time, but she was my mom, and we were in constant communication, and she died of cirrhosis of the liver from alcoholism. And so it was very unexpected, and I was so mad at God. I just turned away from him. And I thought, I'm a Christian now. Things are supposed to be easy. And he took my mom. And so I walked away from him for a couple years and just kind of did my own thing. But God was so faithful. Even when we are unfaithful, he is faithful. And I recommitted my life to him when I was in high school a few years later. And so I went to college and went on a few mission trips and did that whole thing, and actually dropped out of college because I was really depressed, and everything started kind of resurfacing in college, and went to counseling for the first time, got put on medication for the first time there. It was just a really dark time of my life. And then things started looking up, and I married my high school sweetheart, and we got pregnant right away after we were married, and we wanted to start a family, and we had all these dreams and goals. And then when I was 9 months pregnant, we found out that he had a brain tumor, my husband. And I was a week away from my due date, and sitting there in that nursery the night before emergency brain surgery, and just feeling completely and utterly fearful. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if God was going to, allow my husband to pass away and leave me as a widow and a first-time mom by myself. And we both came to this place where we just gave it to God, and we said, no matter what happens, we know that you are faithful, God. We know. And Trevor looked at me before they wheeled him into the hospital, into the room for surgery, and he said, I'll either wake up and I'll see you, or I'll see Jesus, and either is fine with me. And so as I watched him be wheeled back, I just had this peace wash over me. And I was huge. I was 9 months pregnant, and everyone was like, how are you not a total mess right now? And I just felt the prayers of the people of God just uplifting me. And he's fine, praise God. It was the lowest grade of cancer, non-malignant, and he's fine, he's wonderful. We have 4 boys now, and God has just restored everything. He's, whatever the locusts have eaten, God has restored tenfold.
Amen.
And my boys are wonderful, and we have a godly marriage, and we have godly children, and it's just been a blessing to see God's faithfulness through my entire life. And I know that no matter what happens in the future, no matter who I lose or what calamities may come, God is my only constant and he will remain faithful.
Amen. That's the biggest thing that I think I got out of your story when you shared with me the first time, was that in spite of whatever destruction the enemy tries to bring, there can be restoration.
Yes. Amen.
If you just rely on God. And how even if you grew up in a family that was a mess, God can redeem your life, and now he's placed you in a healthy family.
Yes.
A strong family that follows God.
Yes.
And it's just so inspirational because not everybody goes that direction.
Right.
Sometimes they do get bitter and turn away from him, even though he didn't do those things.
Right.
But if you just run to him instead of away, that restoration comes.
Yes, you'll find the purpose in the pain.
Amen. Yeah. He takes all those things and uses them for your good.
Amen.
For the good of those who love him.
Yes.
That's so good.
Amen.
Wasn't that a powerful testimony? Marybeth's story shows how important it is to run to God instead of away from God when troubles come. Then he can bring restoration to your life. This is what he longs to do. I want to thank Marybeth Tilke for sharing with us today. Join us next week on Monday for another episode of God Talk.